March 2024. I started my first vegetable garden after failing the previous year due to traveling and crazy weather that destroyed my greenhouse. Last year, however, I had a solid plan. I did a lot of research, read books on gardening, and ordered everything I would need to prepare the landscape. So I've been working in the garden the whole day, and I noticed that my raspberries have a bunch of new shoots coming out, and I kind of wanted to mark where they're growing so that I don't accidentally step on them or mow them by accident. And I put down mulch to kind of make a border, and then I remember that I bought these concrete borders last year that I didn't use for anything, and I quite spontaneously decided to make a border for the raspberries. So this is my progress till now. I've been working on this for half of the day basically, and I've just have one of them left to do. Maybe I'll do also one this way to kind of make it look like a little raspberry bed. I decided on a raised bed design with a polytunnel that would withstand strong gusts of wind. Creating a garden with raised beds is a more expensive approach. However, due to the soil being very hard to work with, since there was never a garden before in that spot, it was easier and looked tidier in the end. And I compensated the expense by choosing an affordable polytunnel because my budget simply did not allow for more at that time. It was an investment into a future of homegrown food to replace as much store-bought vegetables as possible, but that wasn't the sole reason why I started this project. A few years ago, I tried growing some flowers from seed, and I was completely captivated by the experience of seeing something as tiny as a seed grow into a luscious plant by simply putting it into some soil and watering it frequently. It was like magic. The feeling of my hands interacting with the soil and maintaining these plants was enough to spark the need for something more. To reconnect with this simple task that used to be a part of most people's lifestyles before things got too modernized and condensed. Once I got everything ready, it was time to sow. The sowing process was accomplished rather quickly, and so I was left eagerly waiting for something to sprout. And then all of a sudden, I dealt with a few pests over the next growing months, but nothing too drastic. One pest that later turned very helpful were ants. They happily decided to make a home in one of my beds in the greenhouse before I had put any plants in. So I tried using diatomaceous earth to drive them off, and it worked. They never returned and later even rescued my sunflowers by eating all the aphids that had attacked them. And it just so happened to be the worst year of slug attacks, but I feel like I was lucky because I didn't have as many as some people reported. So it's February 2025 and I've just organized the seeds that I've collected last year from some of my plants, and I've already made a list of the seeds that I want to order this year, and I'm just going for more of a variety of vegetables since last year I made a few mistakes, not major ones. I think it was a really good harvest, even though it was my first year and I didn't know much about growing vegetables. The mistakes that I made were that I planted too many greens like chard, which I didn't eat much of, and chard produces really well. So I just had too much of it and it was taking too much space, which I could use for something else. This year I'm gonna focus more on vegetables that I can actually use every day in my cooking. So definitely not gonna buy any chard this year. I still have some seeds from last year. And I was a bit also disappointed because it's a variety that was supposed to be really colorful, but most of them were just green, so there wasn't much color to them. A lot of dill seeds and calendula and things like that. My heirloom tomatoes that I've saved up to plant them this year as well, which I'm really excited about. They were delicious last year, but I think I didn't prune my tomatoes enough. They kind of took over the greenhouse. They grew so much and I couldn't keep up with the shoots and I didn't snap them off enough, so I actually didn't have a lot of fruits, which I was a bit disappointed in. You know, tomatoes are my favorite vegetable or fruit if you're technical about it, but yeah, I love tomatoes and I didn't have enough last year, so I'm gonna focus this year on pruning them and snapping off those bits that kind of grow from sides. I have a few ideas also to make like an herb corner. I want to stay pretty low budget this year, so I'm gonna have to come up with some solutions that don't require me spending too much money on this. I'm gonna have to buy some soil and some seeds, and that's basically it. I think I don't think I'll be spending money on anything else other than those two things. I do realize that not everyone has the space for a garden like mine. My garden is still quite small, but I realize that not everyone has an outside space where they can grow. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about also other ways you can grow food. You'd be surprised how much you can get from just growing on your windowsill or on your balcony. My friend Olya here on YouTube, she lives in Finland in an apartment building and she has like the most beautiful vegetable garden every year on her balcony. It's amazing what she grows there and she has very high yield vegetables, so yeah, she's much better at tending to them than I am. And I wanted to recommend two books. So one of them is Crops in Tight Spots by Alex Mitchell. And I think it's great just for this purpose. Like if you want to grow somewhere on a balcony or on a windowsill, there's so many ideas here and beautiful pictures and everything. You could grow in a potentially tiny space. It's actually really nice to look at and everything is kind of nicely and simply written down. So yeah, it's a great book for starting out if you have a small space. And then the other one I got secondhand. This one was given to me by Tina. It was her grandpa's book and it's from Jeff Hamilton. It was published in 1987. And this book literally has everything you want to know about gardening. It's amazing how many things are in here, from pests you could potentially deal with to compost and how to create good compost, soil quality, like so many things. So this one is really, really handy, and if you can get your hands on this, I would really recommend it. Like I said, I got it secondhand. I don't know where exactly you could get this, but just look it up on the internet and maybe you'll get it on eBay or something like that. I forgot to mention that if you don't have the option to grow things on your balcony, for instance, and if you don't have a garden, you can always try growing microgreens like alfalfa sprouts. And I think it's great because you can feel like you have a little tiny garden inside your house, and you can grow your own food regardless of whether you own a garden or not. And I think that's amazing. Microgreens are also much richer in nutrients than grown-up plants, so I think that's a great option if you also don't have much time on your hands. You would be surprised how many things you can grow as microgreens, so that's something definitely worth exploring as well. I had no trouble with my other vegetables because I made sure to plant loads of companion plants. My cucumbers did get affected by powdery mildew at some point and some sort of bugs by the end of their growing season, but I will not exaggerate when I say that there was an explosion of ladybugs after that, and they had a feast. After that came the harvest and succession sowing. I didn't do the best job of succession sowing. I started a bit late in August and left for 2 weeks on my vacation. Some seeds didn't germinate, but there was a few things that I could continue to grow in the autumn-winter season. Overall, I felt like it was a good harvest for my first year of gardening, and I learned along the way. I have a better understanding now of what I want to grow more of and how I'll approach things this year, and I am very excited to see what I'll manage to grow.